Real quick note before we get into the video, this audio was recorded on my phone due to time constraints with upcoming events in my personal life. So due to that, the audio might be of a slightly lower quality than the rest of my videos. However, do not worry, only this video will be recorded on my phone. With that being said, good morning from Florence. Today, we'll explore this beautiful Italian city. We'll explore the world-famous Ponte Vecchio and Duomo Cathedral. I will also tell you some tips for your trip to Florence, whether you are doing a day trip like us or staying for multiple nights in Florence. Right now, you will notice that we are walking along a river. This river is the Arno River. The Arno River runs throughout northern Tuscany and gets very close to the border with Emilia-Romagna, another region of Italy. The Arno is very beautiful from Florence, and on this fine morning, I could even see some people boating the waters of the beautiful Arno. To me, it seems like one of the most serene parts of this bustling city. Speaking of the bustle, try to get to Florence early, whether it be on an overnight train or bus, or the first one of the day, or just getting to the city the night before and then waking up early. This city is best experienced earlier in the day. However, even then, it is very bustling. With that being said, let's look to our right, where we can see the Uffizi Gallery. Unfortunately, this was currently under renovation on the day of filming, so I did not go inside. It did look interesting though, so I'm a bit sad that I did not get to go in it. Moving on, we keep walking down the southern riverbank and on our way to the Ponte Vecchio. The Ponte Vecchio is an extremely popular bridge located in Florence. Many luxury jewelry dealers are located out here, including a Rolex store. If you have a pretty penny, then you may want to check out these stores, and even if not, it is nice to walk over this bridge, as it is very pretty to walk over. Over around the center of the bridge, I actually bought a cool little Pinocchio trinket here. And fun fact, Florence is actually the city where Pinocchio was really invented. Back in 1883, writer Carlo Collodi of Florence published Pinocchio's Adventures. And while there is some debate on where Pinocchio really lived, almost all think he lived in the Tuscany region of Italy. Anyways, we continue back to the other side of the bridge. Unfortunately, I did not explore the northern bank of Florence on this day. However, I can tell you guys some general tips and information about Florence. First up, how to get to Florence. Well, you can either fly in, take an intercity train or bus, or drive. First up, plane. Planes fly into Aeroporto di Firenze, or FLR Airport. From there, you can take the T2 tram line to pretty near to the center of the city and then walk the rest, or get an Uber to go wherever you want to in the city. As for intercity train, Florence's Firenze Merlia e Noveglia station is the station that you will arrive to when you get to Florence. The station is served by many Trenitalia high-speed services, as well as some low-speed regionale and intercity routes. In addition, 2 trains per day run from Rome's airport to Florence. So, if you, like myself, live somewhere where the only direct flights to Italy are to Rome, you can arrive in Rome and then either spend a layover there, or go right from the plane to the Brescia-Argento train and onwards to Florence. However, do note that these trains only run twice per day, I believe at 10:20 a.m. and 3-ish p.m. However, I will correct that information on screen if I am wrong. In addition, the Austrian national rail operator, ÖBB, run a night train service between Florence and either Vienna or Munich. Florence's station is about a 15 to 20 minute walk to the Ponte Vecchio, and even less to some other attractions. Finally, you could also get here like how we did on an intercity or chartered bus. Whatever one of these you get, you will end up at the bus terminal, which is less of a bus terminal and more so just a few signs on the side of the road near the River Arno where buses will just happen to drop you off at. Many buses drop off here, however, there is no indoor waiting area, and the only real thing that you can buy near here is that occasionally some locals will set up shop near the station to attract the tourists. Personally, if I chose how to get here, I would choose the train, as it is much more central to the city, and it also has an actual terminal to wait in prior to departure, but the choice is yours. Anyways, once you get here, where should you stay? Well, personally, I would recommend the AC Hotel by Porta al Plata station in Florence. While I've not been to this specific location of AC hotels, I have been to an AC hotel before, and they are very nice for what they are worth. However, if you want more closer options to the center of the city, Il Marzecco Boutique B&B is right next door to Firenze Maria S. Novella station, and Hotel Calcilalli is in Center City, and not all too expensive, although a pretty penny. I saw prices at about 172 euros per night. Speaking of money, let's talk about how much you should bring. I see Florence as more of an expensive city than other Italian cities. For this reason, I'd suggest bringing a base of 1,000 euros and an additional 100 per person per day that you plan on staying. Now, this is if you plan on spending at Ponte Vecchio. If not, you can take my Rome recommendation of 500 plus 75 per person per day generally, as outside of Ponte Vecchio, there's a lot that you can do in Florence that is not as expensive. However, do keep in mind that it is still a tourist city and you will be paying a lot of money, as they will be trying to get the tourists to pay a lot of money. So do keep that in mind. You might want to do something in between or something else. I am not you, so only you can make your financial judgment based on your own situation. Anyways, we are now at Duomo. This is the Basilica di Santa Maria del Fiore. Finishing construction fully in 1436, the cathedral took over 100 years to build, many of these years without a dome. This was due to a faulty design that would have caused the church to fall under its own weight. Having went many years without the dome, Filippo Brunelleschi, the architect, had taken some later inspiration on the dome from the Roman Pantheon. Specifically, he looked to the structural centering of the Roman Pantheon for this inspiration. This would not end up working for the final design, however would eventually lead to a series of further discoveries leading on to the final design, which would include internal stones and chains that would help stabilize the dome and look somewhat like a train track if the dome were to be opened up. This architecture is honestly incredible, and the craziest part of it all is that he had to rely solely on what he thought would work. As well, this was far before computers or anything like that, so he had no idea what would actually work or not. Instinct guided him in his design, storing the beams and chains deep within the dome. It makes you wonder how much more work people had to do back in that era, where knowledge was only shared locally and all things of that nature thoroughly calculated out in your head. On the outside, you may have noticed just how beautiful it is. The design style is just oh so pretty on the outside. The white, green, and pink marbles shimmer in the sunshine and yet fit so perfectly in the moonlight. The cathedral is absolutely huge, so block out a good 30 to 45 minutes to walk around and fully appreciate it if you really want to marvel at the structure. With so many secrets, such as the fact that the dome is topped with a lantern in it, is just so pretty. However, it would take me far too long to discuss all of them. In fact, I reckon I could probably make an entire video just on this fantastic structure. Now, before we leave here, I want to talk about the facade and the baptistry. The baptistry is widely considered to be the oldest building in Florence. Designed in a Florentine Romanesque style and octagonal, it is very distinct in the city, being outstanding from the rest of the buildings yet overshadowed by the cathedral. One of my favorite things of it has to be its doors. Designed so intricately and referred to by Michelangelo himself as the Gates of Heaven. The south doors were made of bronze and were designed by Andrea Pisano. The doors represent the life of St. John with an art inside of them, the Baptist for which the baptistry is named after. Finally, the facade of the cathedral. I do not have much to say other than to just how beautiful it is. It is simply stunning, and I love it so much. It is a testament to humankind architecture from hundreds of years ago that we still have today. Now, let's talk about some quality of life things to know. First, the basics. Florence is in the Tuscany region of Italy, and thus they use Central European time, as do all regions of Italy. This time is UTC +1 or UTC +2 in daylight savings, and they drive on the right-hand side of the road, as do all of Italy and most of Europe. Speaking of driving, many motorists are simply insane here, to say the least. Many of them are barely conscious of the world seemingly outside of them, and it seems they will drive through narrow streetways and will barely have regard for the pedestrian in those streetways. Unfortunately, this means that you will have to be fairly careful in Florence as a pedestrian as to not get run over by a reckless driver. As for recommended time of stay, a day trip is honestly fine. However, you could do 2 or 3 if you want to explore the city more extensively. The city is very beautiful, so you may want to. As for public transport, Florence mostly uses buses, however also has a couple of tram lines. I'll be releasing a video next week on these tram lines, so stay tuned for that. But to put it lightly here, they're good but short and can be crowded and way too much to a point where it is hard to enjoy the city as a tourist if you are inside them. And this can apply to all of Florence as a whole. Once again, try to arrive really early to the city as a tourist, especially if you want to do things like go into a museum to see the actual sculpture of David, which is very, very crowded in that museum, and you can find yourself waiting hours for it. I will say, however, if you have a large group of people that you know are in the area or just a large group of people that you're with, enter the line with them as there is a special express line for groups of 7 or more people. Unfortunately, we did not go in here. However, you should try to go in here if you can. We did visit the replica of David, and although it is not the real one, it still looks very pretty. The replica of David is in Piazza del Signoria, and while it is still not the real David, it is still very pretty to see, and the plaza as a whole is definitely worth visiting. With that, thank you for watching. Next week, we'll be returning to Forum, staying in Florence and checking out their tram system. So if you are excited for that, hit the subscribe button. With that being said, like the video if you like it, dislike if you disliked it, and I will see you next time. Bye.